How are we doing, guys? And welcome to TSTV. My name is Tom, and this is the first video I'll be uploading for my new YouTube channel. A bit about me, first, and what I want to do with this channel before I kind of get into the main meat and bones of this video. The channel itself will be predominantly a football-related channel. I've been going to football, ever since I was a young kid. I'd say it is my main passion in life. I'm a massive Chelsea fan, so I'll get on to Chelsea a bit later on in this video. So I guess you could say, a lot of the content on this channel will be Chelsea focused. But I don't want to pigeonhole myself, just with Chelsea. I want to, discuss other teams as well, other news stories within the world of football. Create content such as, match predictions and, transfer news across the football landscape and any of the big stories that kind of break. Myself, when I was younger, I did go to university and study sports journalism, and I did want to become a sports journalist. It was, something that, I was pretty set on at the time. But then towards the end of my degree, I did have some great experiences working for, free for a number of different organisations. But like a lot of people, I kind of fell into another career, and that kind of part of my life got left by the wayside a little bit. And I did kind of think, should I get back into it? But, I had a few experiences of doing match reports, and to be honest, they weren't really for me. And the reason being is that I felt that, you couldn't ever really get swept up into a game of football because you were constantly making notes. You were looking down at your laptop, or then you were having to, maybe file copy right at the end of the game. And, I also was a bit concerned that, given my allegiances to Chelsea, that I wouldn't be able to hide my biases. And, I would, maybe not quite get as much out of it as I wanted. And obviously back then, the football fan content sphere didn't really exist, and it kind of really exploded, probably a couple of years later. I'll be honest, at first when that kind of content started being produced, I probably was a little bit sneery about it, which was wrong of me. But I think the reason for that was I felt that a lot of the content was probably a very over the top, and people almost trying to be parodies of themselves or characters rather than actually focusing on producing great content. But I think over the last few years, the industry has exploded, and now you have some really brilliant content creators in the space, producing some some brilliant and insightful stuff. And I think now the industry is going from strength to strength, and I've been thinking about doing a channel for a little while now. And I feel that now is the right time for me in my life to, really kind of start on this little project of mine. I'm still working a full-time job, so obviously I won't be able to, create content right on the spot like other people have. And I don't have the fancy studio that a lot of the big content creators have. But obviously, hopefully, as we grow the channel and we build a community here at TSTV, hopefully that is something that we can look forward to in the future. And I hope to bring some, great and insightful content to you guys. I wouldn't say I'm a tactico nerd or anything like that. I'm not a scout that is up to date with every sort of player in every league. But I want to give you, frank and honest opinions, the best analysis I can give. And again, hopefully we can, have some fun and create a great community along the way. Now, the main meat and bones in this video, as I said, being a Chelsea fan, is Chelsea 1, Manchester City 3 yesterday, or Manchester City 3, Chelsea 1 if you would prefer, as a Manchester City with a home team. Now, I think a lot of people felt very, very despondent after this game. For me, it's probably the most livid, and I think even this morning, depressed I felt from a game for a little while now. And I'll go into it in this video, but going into the game, we'd obviously had a bit of a dip in form recently, as had Manchester City for a prolonged period of time. I knew they beat Ipswich 6-0 last week, and they've had a couple of good results recently against, let's be honest, some quite poor teams in the league. But they had an absolutely shocking result in midweek against Paris Saint-Germain, going 2-0 up, and PSG in the last half an hour could have scored 7 or 8 goals. And I really felt that this was a really big opportunity for us to really make a statement, actually, and show that this little blips behind us, take control in this top four race, and go to one of these big away grounds where we've struggled in massively in recent years, and get that win. And it started off so well, didn't it? It started off so promisingly. The first half, I didn't actually get to see all of the first half live. I did watch it back later in the evening. I was actually out with my missus as it was her birthday. She was going out for a birthday meal, so we were having a quick drink. But I could see the telly in the background, and I think this is probably the most telling thing that I could analyse at the time, because obviously I could catch a glimpse of little things in the corner of my eye. And obviously we had a great start with the goal, a bit of a slice of fortune with Manchester City making a massive mistake with their new centre-back that they signed from Lens. And we should have gone 2-0 up. And, I think if we had gone 2-0 up in that game, the game would have completely flipped, and we could have had the confidence to really press home that advantage. Cole Palmer going through on goal and squaring it for Nicholas Jackson. Now, you could say that he did the right thing, potentially, if he sees Jackson in a more promising position, but I've seen a lot of the screenshots and, the different angles of that chance, and he should really be putting that away himself. Even in this poor run of form that we've been on, Cole Palmer's still been scoring goals and still been, delivering in patches, maybe not quite as brilliant as he has been, but he's still been our best attacking player so far. And as we all know, Nicholas Jackson has been in really, really poor form recently. And that the pass was overhit to Jackson. It wasn't a great pass from Palmer, but even so, I think he should have known that Jackson isn't in great form. Let me just take care of business myself. Let's put us 2-0 up and really take a stranglehold in this game. And after that, we created near enough absolutely nothing. It was so disappointing because that Manchester City team was there for the taking. We really didn't take control of the game. And as I said, I wasn't really watching the first half properly at the time, but you could tell in the corner of your eye that we were becoming more and more and more passive, and we were just inviting them to come back into the game. And even though Manchester City have had their problems recently, they still have some world-class players. And if you give them time and space on the ball, they will punish you. And we probably should have been punished more in that first half than we really were. A number of diagonal balls over the top to Gvardiol and Nunes could have created numerous chances. They had a goal disallowed for offside where Robert Sanchez made a horrific mistake, and we'll come on to the one he made in the second half a bit later on. But it was really disappointing from our perspective, and we should have been, a lot better. And, when I watched the first half properly later on, we were playing a ridiculous high line. It was almost like an Ange Postecoglou high line at Tottenham. Absolutely suicide. I can't remember us doing that too many times this season. But if you do employ that high line, you need to be really compact as a unit and be pressing all over the pitch. And, when you have that high line and you're being passive and you're not pressing, it's just inviting disaster. And look, I'm a Chelsea supporter. I've seen many managers in the past, Jose Mourinho, Tuchel, Conte, employs that sort of counter-attack tactic where you sit in a bit of a mid to low block and you allow teams to come onto you and you hit on the break. I'm happy with that style of football, but when you're just playing a high line and not putting any pressure on the ball and just inviting the team to play balls over the top of you, it was only going to end one way, unfortunately. The end of the first half, was extremely disappointing. We went in 1-1 at half time. And, that should have been a time to, reset and, kind of get back on track in that second half. And I guess you could say we did a little bit, because in the second half, Man City didn't cause us near enough any more problems. And to be honest, it was a very poor game in that second half. I mean, neither team looked like they were going on to, win the game or create any real problems. But just like almost we talk about every week at this moment in time, Robert Sanchez for that second goal. Now, it almost feels a bit like a turkey shoot having go at Sanchez, because we clearly know all of us that watch football, not just Chelsea fans, but anyone in general, knows that he is just simply not good enough to play for this football club. And his position in goal is now completely untenable. There were boos from the Chelsea fans towards Sanchez after that mistake, which you don't like to hear. You don't like to hear your own players getting booed. I can understand it to an extent, though, because he has consistently cost us points this season. And for his own sake, he now needs to be taken out of the firing line because his performances have just been totally unacceptable. Now, obviously, a lot of people are blaming Enzo Maresca, for playing Robert Sanchez, and he has to take a portion of the blame for what we've been seeing recently. But I have it on pretty good authority that Ben Roberts, who's the head of goalkeeping, and Paul Winstanley, who's obviously one of our chief sporting directors, who we'll come on to in a little bit, are big fans of Robert Sanchez and made it very clear to Enzo Maresca at the start of the season that Robert Sanchez would be our number one. If for anything, to claw back some value on him, but also because they feel that he is the best man for the job. We did sign Philip Jorgensen in the summer, but that was purely to be a backup or a person that we'd be looking at in the future. Now, he's not set the world alight in Conference League or Cup games, but he cannot be any worse than Robert Sanchez right now. And look, I think a lot of people were very, very angry at the time of the mistake. I was as well. It was just totally unacceptable from a top-level professional, but he needs to be taken out of the firing line. This can't go on. And yeah, there's not really any more to say on Robert Sanchez. He's just not good enough, and we need to upgrade on him very, very quickly, if not now in January, but in the summer. And then obviously before that, we brought in Christopher Nkunku for Nicholas Jackson, who's having a really poor run of form at the moment. His confidence is completely shot. He did, well to create the assist for Madueke. It was a pretty simple assist, but to show the awareness to square it to Noni rather than trying to take a shot on. But some of his other play, giving the ball away in really, really dangerous attacking positions, slipping over as he's going towards goal. He looks completely shot at the moment, and the problem is, again, we can get onto transfers in a little bit, but he needs help. He needs to be taken out of the firing line himself. You can see it's getting to him. We've got absolutely no solutions on the bench, and we bring on Christopher Nkunku for him, who, let's be frank, his head, I think, is out the door at the moment. He doesn't really want to be at the football club. Enzo Maresca doesn't trust him as a number 10 or even as a number 9, but we brought him in that position. He offered absolutely nothing. And the third goal goes in because we're chasing the game. It's very poor defending again from Trevor Chalobah and Levi Colwill. And then it was 3-1. But yeah, spineless performance, pathetic. The most annoyed I've been in a while because that Man City team were there for the taking. That was our chance to really make a statement. And after such a good start, we completely capitulated. And it's another defeat, at these big away grounds. I don't remember the last time we went to, Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United or Manchester City and won a game. I think we might have won a couple of these games during lockdown, but, that doesn't really mean anything to me. Completely different games of football. And it's not acceptable for a club of our size to be going to these games constantly and constantly getting humiliated. And it was a different form of humiliation last night. And something needs to be done drastically. Now, in terms of the bigger picture of the club, obviously it being the transfer window, we've been linked with a numerous number of players today. People getting their briefings out, which again frustrates the life out of us. I don't care about briefings. I don't care about the club are monitoring this person or they're actively looking at this person. They're looking to be busy in the next week of the transfer window. I want to see action. Now, again, Enzo Maresca has to take a lot of the blame for what we've seen recently. And I wasn't a fan of his appointment at the start of the season, but I liked a lot of the things he did in the first few months. He was flexible tactically. We were playing some great football. I remember a game against Aston Villa, we were 3-0 up, and in the 90th minute, we were pressing with such intensity. And that was the football I wanted to see. Now, he's not helped himself during this blip. And I think a big turning point may have been the Newcastle game in the League Cup, because he played a lot of the second string team that we've seen in the Conference League. And he clearly doesn't trust those players after that game to come in and make an impact. And now we're bearing the brunt of that because a lot of our attacking players look completely dead on their feet. Enzo and Caicedo are completely dead on their feet. Enzo Fernandez and Ideal World probably shouldn't have played this game because he was injured on Monday, but needs must because, quite frankly, he's getting absolutely no help in the transfer market by these sporting directors. And that is why I know there's a big clamour for Enzo Maresca to go at this moment in time. And I'm not one of those people. I do believe that he needs to take some accountability from the way we've been playing. And he needs to grow some balls and drop Robert Sanchez, even if the ones above don't want him to play. But he is going to cost him his job. I'm telling you right now, he's going to cost him his job. But he's getting no help because, you look at the centre-back situation. We've had to bring back Trevor Chalobah, cap in hand. Embarrassed ourselves completely over that situation. I won't go into Trevor's situation too much because it's probably been poured over many, many times by many, many people. But we don't have a top-line experienced centre-back to help Levi Colwell, who looks like he's really struggling at this moment in time. We're obviously completely inept on the goalkeeper front, even though we've signed 7 goalkeepers. There's no one in the goalkeeping department who we can look back on and really, really trust. I think Georgi Petrovic is probably the one we would most, but we sent him on loan at the start of the season because we said he wasn't good enough with his feet, which, again, another unacceptable decision. In midfield, we are so light in midfield. We've signed so many midfielders in the past couple of years, it's a joke. But at the moment, we've got 2 fit central midfielders. 2. And the simple equation to solve this is by calling back one of Lesia Gachukwu or Andre Santos. But the board refused to do it because at this moment in time, it is my belief that they're thinking more about protecting the value of that player rather than thinking, okay, he's going to come off the bench and get maybe less minutes than they're currently getting, even though they will help the team. And for me, that is just totally unacceptable. It's the wrong way to run a football club. And, we should be striving for success. At the bare minimum, we should be trying to achieve Champions League football this season. And, with Romeo Lavia, you can't trust him. He's constantly injured. And with Moises Caicedo, I mean, look, I love the guy. He's been brilliant this season, but he is being run into the ground and he looks knackered, and that's only going to get worse. And Enzo Fernandez are only 2 fit central midfield players. I can't see how we're going to get Champions League unless we get some backup because they're going to pick up injuries as well. And then what do we do then? Who plays in midfield then? It's very, very disappointing with the way they built this squad. You look up front, we need some help desperately for Nicholas Jackson. Now, I know how hard it is to sign players in the January transfer window. I'm not calling for the big 60, 70, 80 million pound signings at this stage. That can maybe wait till the summer because, of course, other clubs, when you go and sign those players, have their objectives too. Someone like Victor Gyökeres, for example. He's in the Champions League with Sporting Lisbon. They're probably going to qualify for the next stage. They want to win the league title. They're not going to want to lose him at this stage. But there's other opportunities out there that you can go and explore. I mean, I remember in 2017-18 where we go and sign Olivier Giroud, who was a brilliant backup player for us for a number of years and played a really important role in the squad. And we need that type of player right now. That player that can come in and fill in for Jackson for the odd game, take the load off him, and also come off the bench and maybe make an impact, score those scruffy goals. And we don't have that at this moment in time. So I'm not calling for, 70, 80 million pound signings in this window. Just some help for the manager, some help for the team so that we can really push on in the second half of the season. Because if we don't push on in these next 7 or 8 days between now and the West Ham game, things are going to get really toxic in this fan base. And, I can't see us finishing in the top 4, and it could get even worse. We're only a few points off 10th place in the table, believe it or not. So the sporting directors have to act. And if they don't, their head needs to be on the chopping block before Enzo Maresca. I truly believe that because they have failed in their objectives to create a competitive squad over the last couple of years that can compete for the highest honours. And, as much as Enzo Maresca is making mistakes, I believe just sacking another manager and keeping the sporting directors and moving on to the next new face in the dugout, nothing will really change. So look, we've got 8 to 10 days to really rectify this issue, and I'll be watching closely developments on that because the only links we're seeing so far at the moment are Alejandro Garnacho for 60 or 70 million, which don't even get me started on. I'm not going to go into all that right now because, again, that is just speculation. But believe me, I will be posting another video if we do go after that move and don't really address the areas that we need to. There's also been links with Matthias Tell again today at Bayern Munich, who again is a young winger, 19 years old, can play up front, but is very similar to Jackson in the sense that he's not a centre forward by trade. Now, I haven't watched as much of Tell as a lot of other people have, and look, he clearly a player of tremendous ability and promise, but that is not what we need right now. We need experienced, a few steady eddies to come in and help the team between now and the end of the season. And my concern is if we don't, things can get really, really bad and toxic at the football club. And next Monday night, we have a game against West Ham United, obviously one of our local rivals, managed by none other than Graham Potter. Now, wouldn't it be very narrative-y and full circle if West Ham come and beat us next week under Graham Potter? And you can only imagine the atmosphere in the stadium, on social media and amongst the fan base if that happens. And it's quite unthinkable, really. But given our recent form, I wouldn't be totally shocked. But look, listen, hopefully between now and then, the club gets its act together and can make one or two signings to help the team and help the manager. And then we can move forward to the rest of the season with a bit of positivity. We have got some good fixtures coming up. I believe our next 5 or 6 games, I think we have West Ham at home, then Brighton away in the Cup, Brighton away in the league, Villa away in the league, and Southampton and Leicester at home. Now, we really should be looking to pick up points in those fixtures. And look, Manchester City are 1 point ahead of us, but they've got some tough games coming up. I think they play Arsenal away, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Forest in their next few games, and Tottenham as well, which might not seem like a tough game at the moment, but they obviously have a terrible record against them. So look, there's opportunities to pick up points. If we can get some signings through the door in the next couple of weeks or the next week or so, and we can build up a bit of a head of steam again, there is some reasons to be positive, but it feels really difficult to feel like that right now because I was very deflated after yesterday's game. So yeah, look, let's see what the next week brings. Look, that's it for the video. Please like and subscribe. We'll try and get some more content out to you guys later in the week. And we'll keep across all the transfer rumours and maybe do some match predictions ahead of the next Premier League match day. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.